Welcome to Civics in a Year, the podcast that makes civic literacy fast, accessible, and surprisingly engaging. In just 10 minutes an episode, we'll tackle one of 250 essential questions about American democracy, how it works, why it matters, and what it means for you. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or just someone who wants to better understand your country and your rights, you're in the right place. Civics in a Year is powered by the Civic Literacy Curriculum from the Center for American Civics and is produced in partnership with the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership at Arizona State University. Friends, welcome back to Civics in a Year. Today's episode is going to feel a little different. We're talking about presidential pets. Yes, dogs, cats, and even a few animals that absolutely do not belong anywhere near the White House. Now, this is not just a fun detour. During our Calvin Coolidge episode with Dr. Weinberg, we talked about his pet raccoon, and it just kind of got me thinking. So this is a story about the presidency itself, about image, communication, and how Americans connect with the people who hold the most powerful office in the country. Sometimes understanding the presidency means paying attention not just to speeches and policies, but to the dog on the front lawn. So why pets matter? The Constitution obviously does not say a single word about pets. There's no clause about dogs, no amendment about cats, no mention of what happens if a president decides to, keep a raccoon, which, as we will see, has actually happened. And if you heard our Calvin Coolidge episode, you know what I'm talking about. But the presidency has changed over time, especially in the 20th century. Presidents become more than political leaders. They become public figures that Americans expected to know personally, or at least feel like they knew. Historians sometimes call this the public presidency. And in that world, pets matter. They help humanize the president. They signal normalcy. They create moments that feel unscripted, even sometimes when they're not. A photo of a president with their dog can do something that a policy speech cannot. It can make the office feel approachable. So one of the most famous presidential pets is Franklin Roosevelt's Scottish terrier, Fala. Fala was not just a companion. He was part of Roosevelt's public image during one of the most serious periods in American history, the Great Depression and World War II. Now, in 1944, Roosevelt even referenced Fala in a campaign speech. Critics had accused him of accidentally leaving Fala behind on a trip and then sending a naval destroyer to retrieve him at great expense. Roosevelt responds with humor. So this is what he says. Fala is Scotch, and being a Scottie, as soon as he learned that the Republican fiction writers had concocted a story that I had left him behind, his Scotch soul was furious. The audience laughs at this. That moment mattered. It showed Roosevelt as competent, relaxed, and relatable, even in the middle of a war. Fala helped reinforce Roosevelt's connection with the public, not through policy, but through personality. Now, let's talk about a dog who was never actually a White House pet, but might be one of the most politically important pets in American history. And I learned about this pet when I went to the Richard Nixon Library in Yorba Linda, California. So in 1952, Richard Nixon's running for vice president. He's accused of misusing campaign funds, and his political future is in serious trouble. So he goes on national television and gave what is now known as the Checker speech. In that speech, Nixon defended himself, but he also told a very personal story. He said that a supporter had given his family a dog, a Cocker Spaniel named Checkers. And then he said this: the kids, like all kids, love the dog. And I just want to say this right now, that regardless of what they say about it, we're going to keep it. That line changed everything. It made the speech emotional, relatable, and memorable. It helped Nixon connect with millions of Americans watching at home. And it worked. He stayed on the ticket. A dog became a part of a turning point in a national election. So now I kind of want to talk about the rise of this relatable president. So as television becomes more important, presidents leaned even more into these personal moments. Think about Ronald Reagan. His image at his California ranch, surrounded by horses and animals, reinforced a sense of independence and strength. Or George H.W. Bush's dog, Millie. Millie became so popular that a book was published from her perspective called Millie's Book, which became a bestseller. That tells you something about the American public. People are not just interested in policy. They were interested in the life of a president. Pets became part of that story. They helped create a sense that the president was not just a distant figure in Washington, but someone living a life that felt familiar. So by the time we get to the 21st century, pets are almost expected. During the 2008 campaign, Barack Obama promised his daughters a dog if he won the election. That promise became a national story. When the Obamas brought home Bo, a Portuguese water dog, it was covered everywhere. That moment mattered because it showed follow-through, but also because it reinforced the image of a presidency as a family-centered institution. Most recently, President Biden's dogs, include Major and Commander, have also been a part of media coverage, sometimes for less predictable reasons. Even those stories, whether positive or chaotic, contribute to how the public sees the presidency. They remind people that the White House is both a workplace and a home. Now, not all presidential pets have been dogs. John Quincy Adams had an alligator, reportedly a gift from the Marquis de Lafayette. Calvin Coolidge, who we have spoken about before, had a whole collection of animals, including a raccoon that he named Rebecca, who was originally meant to be part of a Thanksgiving dinner, but instead was adopted as a pet. These stories are unusual, but they still serve a purpose. They capture attention, they capture memorable narratives, and they remind us that the presidency, while serious, has always had moments of unpredictability. I mean, look at Theodore Roosevelt and all the pets he had. So, what does this have to do with civics? Presidential pets are not about policy, but they are about power. They show how presidents communicate with the public. They show how media shapes our understanding of leadership. And they show how citizens respond not just to what presidents do, but to who they appear to be. The presidency is both a constitutional office and a public performance. Pets are a small part of that performance, but they help reveal something bigger. They help us see how leadership is presented, perceived, and remembered. So the next time you see a photo of a president with their dog, or in Bill Clinton's case, his cat Socks, or you hear a story about a White House pet, it's worth paying attention. Because behind that moment is a long history of presidents trying to connect with the American people in ways that go beyond speeches and laws. And sometimes the most unexpected details tell us most about how the presidency works. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Civics in a Year.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Civics in a Year. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who cares about a constitutional republic as much as you do. For more episodes, resources, and updates, follow us on social media or visit us at civics.asu.edu. Make sure to check out the show notes for any relevant links. Special thanks to the United States Marine Band for their performance of the Stars and Stripes Forever. Let's keep building a stronger constitutional republic, one episode at a time.